You lose nothing in believing that you can win. I'd like to share something with you. It's a truth that I've learned over years of struggle and years of growth. Not as somebody on a stage or anything like that, but as somebody talking to you face to face. It all begins with belief. Not the belief that others want you to have. Or like some fake motivational shit you'll hear on TV. I'm talking about the raw, unfiltered idea that everything in your life begins with what you believe is possible. It may sound stupid and simple and naive. However, if you consider the idea that all of your beliefs will shape your reality and shape your actions, you will succeed, and I promise you that. The ideas that cloud your mind are the silent builders in your brain. They are the architects behind your daily actions. All your choices and ultimately all of your success is controlled by these architects. And the thing is that when you decide deep down that you can win, it will come to the reality. It will be true. You lose nothing by believing this fact. However, you lose a lot by believing in doubt. To break it down through the use of an example of a book I like to read called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Well, obviously a very cliche, you've heard it before, TikTok finance bullshit book. But I genuinely think it's a very good book and I recommend everyone to read it. Anyway, Napoleon Hill, talks about the principle of autosuggestion. It's a process of repeatedly feeding your mind with positive, subconsciously planted ideas. Powerful, overpowering thoughts that your subconscious starts to accept as reality. He said in the book, so I'm quoting the book here, whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. End quote. And I am here today to tell you that if you genuinely start telling yourself and believing yourself every single day that you can win, physically saying, I can win, reading it over and over and over, you can win. You're planting the seeds of your success. You will find a way to win. If your mind is like a field, the things that you plant in it will grow, regardless of what it is. If you plant shit crops, they'll grow. If you plant good crops, they'll grow. In taking that example, planting things like doubt or fear is what will grow, and that is what you're going to be forced to harvest. However, if you plant the seeds of belief or the seeds of truth, and you say things to yourself like, I am capable, or I am destined for more than this reality that I'm in, then that will be what's harvested. That will be what you believe. And I'm not going to bullshit you or anything. I myself have been down the route of self-doubt. I'm still in it every single day. I'm spending way too much time on Instagram, wasting my time in school, not being serious or anything. I feel trapped by these circumstances that seemed far too heavy for me to overcome. There were even days which I thought I would never get out of this rut. My progress has gone so downhill since the past. I used to be way better. But nowadays, I convince myself that if I feed myself this failure narrative, the things like saying that everything is stacked against me, or like I said, I would never get out of this rut, I would start to fail more and more. It would perpetuate. Once I changed my dialogue inside my brain, I started to get better. When I was through my best time, when I was off sugar, doing nothing like that shit, cold showers daily, early morning wake ups, everything like that, every day I would tell myself, wow, I'm doing a great job. But as soon as I started to get back into telling myself, I'm so behind the competition, I'm falling off so hard. I'm just so average now. It started to become my reality. So to further like elaborate the idea of autosuggestion, I have to clarify that it's not magic. It's not some force that's like impossible for you to understand. It's a tool that you can use to your advantage. If your subconscious is something of a bank account, I'm going back to another metaphor because it really makes it easier for people to understand. Which is why I'm telling you to read the book, because the book breaks it down perfectly. But yeah, like I said, if your subconscious is a bank account, every single positive thought you make is a deposit, and every single negative thought is a withdrawal. If you keep withdrawing and withdrawing and withdrawing, eventually your account's going to go to overdraft. You're going to go fucking bankrupt, right? But if you deposit every single day, even little things like $10, $20, right? You build up some sort of reserve, like a bank account, obviously, that can help you empower any obstacle, Once you come to a hurdle, you can go back to your reserve. You can go back to that bank account and you can use it to help you overcome that hurdle. Every time you affirm in your mind, I can win, you're rewiring, I said that badly, you're rewiring your mind. It sounds like something out of some bullshit self-help book, which I guess it is. But trust me, I promise you, when you see the change in your life, it is as real as it gets. It is as gratifying in your body as you think it is. Now, obviously, I'm not here just to tell you these bullshit quotes and lecture you, right? I'm genuinely here to improve you, help you improve. The world today that we live in is full of distractions, which every single person is subject to, no matter who you are. And these distractions kill that hunger inside of you. Things like porn addiction is a massive problem, like huge. And even things like junk food binging, which you wouldn't think would be such an extreme example to go to. However, it is, because of the world we live in. These habits provide us a quick hit of dopamine. And due to this, they leave you empty and they leave you stuck in a place where you never were before. But that quick hit of dopamine is what people chase after, so they keep going back and back and back to it. I see so many people falling into these traps because they're conditioned to seek comfort and happiness. Sorry, not happiness. Dopamine hits over anything else. There's a big difference between happiness and dopamine hits. Every single time you choose that instant hit of happiness, I gotta stop saying happiness. Every time you choose that instant hit of instant gratification over the long-term growth, you are telling yourself in your mind that it's okay to settle for nothing. You're telling yourself that settling is a good thing, you can get comfort in settling. However, trust me on this, settlement is the enemy of winning. Being sedentary will stop you from growing and in fact can even take you further back. I literally remember times where I'm spending hours scrolling on my phone. Even today, yesterday, it's bad, but I'm watching these mindless clips, watching YouTube videos, and I'll just tell myself that it's a way to unwind, I had a hard day at school, blah, blah, blah. It's a way to calm down. But the more and more I indulge in this shit, the more I realize that I'm simply numbing myself to anything that truly matters to me. I wasn't getting any stronger from watching these clips. I wasn't getting any more knowledgeable from watching these clips. And I wasn't building anything that was real. I was wasting my precious time, which I could have used to cultivate the belief that I could win, which I could have used to force into my mind a plan and a life route that I could use to succeed. And it's not simply just about porn or junk food or these examples I've been talking about. It's even the little comforts, the excuses that you build up in your mind, those withdrawals. You're too tired, you're too busy, you're too stressed, everyone's already said these things. These are all personal setbacks. But to go even deeper, we've all had that time when we said, only 5 minutes to go in bed, I'll get out and do my work after. And then what happened? You fall asleep, next morning you feel like shit. And that feeling of shit is proof that you are destined for better. You yourself know that, oh fuck, I really should have done that last night. I might fail my test today because I didn't study last night. You yourself know that you are destined for something greater than moping around on your bed all day and being addicted to TikTok. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. Oh fuck, sorry. I want you to think back to a moment in your life and ask yourself, what did you tell yourself in moments such as, a failure at work or a setback or failing a test, something like that, something where you faced a challenge? What did you tell yourself in those moments? Did you tell yourself that you're not good enough? Or that's just how it is, I'll just settle with that? Or did you even dare to believe the idea, even for a fucking second, that you could rise above that? That belief is the spark that you needed to pass the test, to get I keep fumbling over my words. But basically, all I'm saying is that belief is it's the ignition that can spark that tiny light which ignites the whole rest of your journey. It can ignite a whole wildfire of change. In James Allen's book, As a Man Thinketh, I constantly go back to what he also said about this same theory. A man is literally what he thinks, his character being the complete sum of all his thoughts. If your thoughts are filled with limitations and constant setbacks, then your reality will reflect that. But if you change your thoughts, if you change your ways and means of thinking, your life will follow. It might sound like stupidly overly philosophical. However, these aren't just abstract ideas. The reason I urge people to read books so much is because the person who wrote that book has clearly succeeded in life if you're the one reading it. And you can learn from their examples, you can learn from their failures. Every morning, I make it a point to tell myself and look myself in the eye and say, today I will win. Today I choose to win. All because I read Napoleon Hill's book, where he told me to do that. And I followed. It might feel strange at first. It might feel abstract. It might feel like you're crazy for doing this stupid shit. But over time, the affirmation that you disagree with now will become a natural response. It will become a part of you. It really sets the tone for what follows your life. Your brain isn't simply a static mush, It's adaptable. It wrinkles to every single thing that you learn. This is called neuroplasticity, but I'm not going to get too deep into the science, obviously, since I myself am not even that knowledgeable about it. I'm simply just synthesizing information which I've learnt from others. Right? This neuroplasticity means that your brain can adapt to what you repeat to yourself, to what you focus your thoughts on. It can understand and it can change. When you replace your self-doubt with confidence and strengthen those neural pathways that support positive, proactive behaviors, it literally changes your brain. Like, it changes the form of your brain, and it makes things seem like a reality when in the past you look at them like they were crazy. It's honestly crazy to me how that works, because you're literally just saying things to yourself every day and you're literally just studying for a little longer. But it changes the psychological and the physical aspects of your brain, Obviously, it's not something that can happen quickly. It's not a quick fix, not some bullshit road to success. However, even though it takes time and consistency, every single moment, I'll try and mix in those words, every single moment that you spend believing you can win is a step towards rewiring your brain. And then furthermore, you can consider something else, which I'm going to shift the tone now. I'm going to go from me synthesizing to you to me asking you and me questioning you. I want you to question yourself. I'll begin by asking you, what is the cost of not believing? I want you to think about the man, the the idealized person in your brain who every single day he wakes up and he tells himself that he's not enough. You know, he tells himself that he's destined to fail. What does his life look like? If you have the time, which you likely will, I want you to go write down every single thing that you think this man's life will look like. Now, once you've done that and you come back, I'm going to talk about the fact that, it's likely that his life is just full of series of missed opportunities. It's like a line of what ifs, regrets, doubts, all of these, like, if only I did this yesterday, what if I did that, all that bullshit. Now, contrast that with someone who, he does the complete opposite, who, regardless of the odds of him succeeding, he chooses to believe in his own potential. Even though he knows he might fail, he chooses to ignore that fact, and he takes every setback as a lesson instead of a natural setback. I want you to write under what you just did before what you think his life is going to turn out like. Obviously, well, I've been talking about it for the past fucking 10 minutes or so, but we'll know that he's going to start building a future which once seemed impossible to him because he's now rewired his brain into believing that it is his reality. I've genuinely seen both sides of this aspect. I've been on both sides as well. I've seen friends close to me, people just like you, get trapped in cycles of doubt and addiction and habits which are very harmful to them. They let the world pass by them, they don't live their days, they let their days live them. And then I've seen other people who are on the completely other cyclical side, They face similar challenges, and instead of doing the same thing as the other person, they choose to flip the script, They live on a different side of the leaf. They tell themselves that you can win, I can win, we can win, all this shit. And slowly they begin to change their life, and I've seen the physical aspect of it. And the truth is that every single win begins with the belief that you can win. I do remember one of my own particularly low moments, which, it's not necessarily a struggle for me to share. And it's one of those nights where nothing really felt like it made sense to me. Every single negative thought I had felt like a heavy weight on my shoulders, stacking up over and over and over. And I could have given in. I could have failed, which I've done countless times in the past. However, I did something which I really recommend every single person to do. I sat down, I wrote out my goals, physically wrote it out in a book, and I repeated to myself that I can win. And it wasn't some sort of grand epiphany, it wasn't some magnum opus it was just a quiet insistence in my mind that I was more than the situation that I was currently placed in. And over time, that active belief, it grew, it perpetuated, and that led to one of the greatest moments in my life. There's another famous, quote saying whatever, which I'm going to, again, regurgitate to you. These quotes don't mean anything unless you genuinely listen to them, so I'd like you to listen. It's by Earl Nightingale, and it goes, "Whatever we plant in our subconscious mind and nourish with repetition will one day become a reality." And if you've actually been listening to all these quotes, you can notice that they have some sort of similarity, being the fact that it's whatever you plant in your mind, the going back to the field, going back to the bank account, the deposits, withdrawals. It's believing that with every single fiber of your body that you can succeed. And obviously it's not just about blind optimism, it's about taking deliberate and consistent actions. It's setting yourself a plan and believing that this plan is the genuine path to your success. So the bottom line is the idea that if you're sitting here this far into this video and you're wondering if what you have is what is necessary to succeed, yes, I'll start with that belief for you. I'll tell you that you already have what you need. And the only thing standing between you and that life that you're dreaming of right now, because I brought it up, which I know exactly, you know exactly what it is. The only thing standing between you and that is belief. A belief that you have the capability to win, that you have the capacity to be destined for something greater. Because it doesn't matter if you've been knocked down 100 or 1,000 times. What matters is that you choose every single day to get back up and say, you are in this. Say, I am in this. I am going to win. Because when you do that, when you make that choice, you start to build momentum. And every single action and every single decision adds to that momentum, and you become a large and unstoppable rolling force which can only be stopped by one thing: regret. So don't regret, don't doubt, don't regret nothing. Don't regret anything, not nothing, so whatever. Believe. And that is why I want you to challenge that today. When you feel that pull of comfort, when you say to yourself, I'll lie down on the couch for 5 minutes while I fucking eat this cookie because you're a fat cunt. Sorry, I didn't mean that. Once you feel that, once you're tempted to settle for the path which is easier to you, remember that you lose nothing by believing that you can win. In fact, you gain literally everything by believing you can win. You create your mind brick by brick, thought by thought, seed by seed, deposit by deposit. And that creation starts with a single belief that you can win. So I genuinely want you to take this in. I genuinely want you to look at your life as it is today. Every single challenge, every single setback, every single moment you've ever doubted yourself, they are not there to define you, but instead to refine you. You need to take those failures and you need to take those hurdles and let them create your life. You need to take those hurdles and allow them to be a lesson to your life, to allow yourself to learn from these setbacks. These setbacks and these hurdles are stepping stones on the path to success, on the path to belief, And the single first step on that path, this first stone you're ever going to step on, take a guess what it is. Fucking belief, obviously. That's what I've been talking about the whole video. But, like I'm saying over and over and over, and I can say it a million more times, but if you don't genuinely choose to believe in yourself, you will never succeed. If you choose to believe in your potential, which I really hope you do, you're already winning, even before that action is taken. Because your brain will be rewired in a way to force you to take action eventually. So, again, remember what Napoleon Hill said: whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. And I truly believe that. And I truly suggest that you believe that. I've seen it, I've lived it, I've felt it, I've seen it in other people, I've seen it in myself. And I'm telling you from the bottom of my fucking heart, you lose nothing in believing you can succeed, but you gain everything. So, even if you mess up, and even if you fail, it's okay. It's fine. Because it's all part of the journey. Learn to embrace that journey and enjoy it en route. Grow from it. And then get back up. Keep moving forwards. Because every single step you take in belief is a step closer to the life that you want. So don't take this as another shitty motivational speech. This is a conversation between me and you. I don't care who you are. This is a conversation between me and you. Know that deep inside you there is a strength that can only be unlocked once you believe in yourself to succeed. Once you choose to believe, you're choosing to fight every single day for that life that you want, that life that you deserve. So I'd like to thank you for having this conversation with me and for genuinely taking these words to heart. Because if you've watched through this whole video, this uncut, no bullshit, fucking my annoying voice talking to you, if you've watched this whole thing, I genuinely believe that you have the ability to change. And you have that ability to rewire your brain into something better. So expand on this and go back to those call to actions like I kept giving you, you know, do those things that I asked you to, read those books, you know, but most of all, believe. Thanks.